Hey, this is Derica, your host on the Happiness Recipe Show 2.0, where top experts share their stories of breaking through their own fears and resistance and into living their happy life and how you can do the same. I'm very excited to speak with our next expert today, Alexis Artin. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm so delighted to be here.
Yes, this is going to be a good one, you guys. I always say blue pen, white paper. There's going to be a lot of nuggets of gold dropped on this show today, so be ready. And for those of you who have not met Alexis yet, I'm going to read her beautiful bio. We're going to get to know her a little bit more, and then we'll jump into those juicy questions. Okay? So, Alexis, as seen in Fox, Thrive, Global, Entertainment Tonight, and more, Alexis Artin is a leading success coach, international speaker, writer who's trained in neuro-linguistic programming, that's NLP, and is a master embodiment teacher, fully immersed in the DeMartini method. She has spent the past 2 decades propelling people towards their personal and professional best. She's worked side by side with many of the most revered thought leaders, bringing personal growth to the global stage, and was the driving force behind expanding one of the largest and most respected female empowerment companies, which inspired her to channel her expertise into creating a coaching practice serving clients across the globe. Alexis teaches others to embrace their knowing, connecting mind, body, heart, and soul. Her powerful coaching gives her clients true and lasting transformation from the inside out. As an ICF certified professional coach and energy leadership master practitioner, Alexis is also founder of Free Body Practice. All right. And a hypnotherapist. That is amazing.
Busy girl over here. God, every time I hear my bio read, I always just go, really? My friends are jokesters and they always refer to me as the Forrest Gump of the feminine. And it's like, every time I hear that, I really go, oh, okay, I really understand why they say that.
Amazing though, it's a journey. 'Cause all
Yeah,
this took you so much time, right? I love when I read these
yeah.
bios, I'm like, wow, this has taken years of evolution and expansion of really who you
Mm,
are, like sitting there today. So
yeah.
that's beautiful. Yeah.
Well, thank you for that recognition. And yeah, it is. It's a journey for all of us. And what's so funny is I always say life experience trumps anything that I've learned in any classroom. Um, and
Oh yeah.
so I'm sure anybody watching this can resonate with that.
Mm. Oh
Um,
yes. Yes, it's like the book is good, but when you really learn it like firsthand, now you know it. It's like,
that's right. That's right. So our expertise is really in being who we are and
yeah.
knowing who we are more than anybody else ever could on the
Mm.
planet.
So true. All right, Alexis, let's dive into that a little bit more. Can you tell us your story and really what led you to be doing what it is that you do today?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. A lot of the famous philosophers will hearken to the notion that we're here to heal the pain that we've experienced in our lives on, greater and greater levels.
Yeah.
And for me, I endured so many challenges that were really uh, stepping stones for my growth and evolution. Whether that was my aunt and uncle dying in a plane crash when I was 5 years old, whether that was me hopping from operating table to operating table, trying to carve myself into someone more lovable on the outside than I felt on the inside, whether
Mm.
that was incurring massive amounts of debt trying to buy a better life that I thought wasn't accessible to me in any other way, whether it was using drugs and drinking and getting into trouble with the law, because I thought that that would, somehow ensure me social integration and
Mhm.
community and some sort of ability to navigate and manage my emotions. I mean, I've really run the gamut
Yeah.
of of creating challenges just so that I could overcome them and know my own strength and ability to do so. And gathering so many tools and resources and beautiful teachers and all sorts of things along the way that have repackaged themselves into what I'm gifting to the world in my own sweet, unique way.
Yes. If I can do like a common thread here with all the experts on this show, it's really what you started off with, is that our past is really what brings us here today. You know, all those things that you experienced and you went through was a part of it. It's almost like this journey we almost have to go through to become who we're standing as today, and being able to help as many as you do. It's like that wouldn't actually happen unless all of that stuff actually came up and was
Yeah,
experienced.
and I don't believe that there's any accidents in how and why those things show up and shape us the way that they do. I believe it's because there is a, a higher purpose and a higher calling, and the universe is going to keep nudging us in the direction that we're meant to go. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's going to feel, fantastic, and sometimes it's going to hurt, but it's all, that sort of universal push in the direction that we're here to go, and it's whether or not we're listening.
Yeah. I'm feeling a lot of the nodding heads right now. I remember at some point in my life hearing that, and it was like so unbelievable. I was thinking, no way, this can't be like this heartache or this, breakup or this time spent in jail or this, different
Yeah.
things. You're like, how could this be serving me? How could this be this good thing? And later on, you do see. And I think as the more you
Yeah.
experience this, you can almost see him closer in the moment of why it's happening. But there was that part where some of us, it's still hard to believe that, you know?
Yeah, and I'm relatively unpopular in some of the things that I believe because I'm a devout student, of many, but one of my most prized teachers is Dr. John DeMartini, and he really operates in a very scientific manner. He's a polymath, but and panpsychic, but it really is about understanding that universally and scientifically, you can't argue with. I'm going to geek out for a second here, but like that there's, particle and antiparticle, and that's what creates matter, and everything is created in absolute equilibrium. There is no light without dark. You can't have the light without the shadow, and it's equidistance, ebb and flow. It's going, the ocean will recede as far back as it's going to crash forward, thereby a tsunami. There's no yin without yang. No magnet can't be separated. It's positive and negative sides. So everything happens in balance. And so it would really be a grave error to assume that you're ever going to have support without challenge, equally so. And so it's not about things being good or bad. Those are just judgments. It's about, there's multiple perspectives that somebody can adopt in any given moment. And you may be blind to the upsides and only see the downsides, or vice versa, but they're always there. And it's a question of, are you able to acknowledge and have awareness? I believe awareness is our superpower of all of the things that are at play in any given moment,
Yeah.
and then step into your higher value above and beyond that.
Oh, so well said. That is so good. I know you guys are feeling that, because a lot of us, what I feel, there's a lot of superficial things out there where, there's all these different posts or ways of life of all these, this is just happy, happy, happy all the time, or this is how it should be.
One-sidedness, yeah.
Yeah, that one-sidedness. But it is the balance, it's a duality, it's the versatility here, that one really doesn't exist without the other. And I think sitting in hearing what you just said, it really normalizes the bad. It really brings the hype down on some of those challenges and stressors that we go through, of just realizing it's a part of it. And
And not even calling it bad,
even
because it's
better,
not.
just is.
There is no, bad and good is a judgmental, one-sided conscious and unconscious splits. It just means you're conscious to what you perceive from your cognitive bias is good, but to somebody else, it might be bad, or vice versa. It really is just based in judgments and what we view as an upside versus a downside, and what we're conscious and unconscious to when it comes to that. But all sides are always there, and anybody can spin the wheel and judge them in any direction that they want to. But in the end, again, this is why it's highly unpopular, this method sometimes, is because it's the antithesis of the power of positive thinking.
Yeah. Wow. This is so good. As you're saying that, it's like just the whole based in judgment, as you're saying, and it's really our perception to the thing. And I remember first time hearing that, okay, here are, someone wants a Mercedes and that's the dream life. Like that's the dream. It could be any car, but you hear what I'm saying? Like people want this Mercedes and like, that's going to bring them this happiness. That's their dream. But if you go across the globe, the dream is like owning a camel. You know what I mean? It's like, that's the dream life and that's what brings them happiness. And so we can look at any situation that we're in and we get to choose how we want to see this contrast.
Because each of us has different values, right? You're speaking to core values. Somebody's core value might be finance, but really, what is finance providing them with that they wouldn't have if they didn't have the finances? Well, it provides a sense of safety. It provides a sense of freedom. It provides a sense of power, but somebody else may access those values very differently than through finances. For some people, freedom and power is eradicating any dependency on the resource of, let's say, finance, and going and living off the land somewhere. So there really are so many different ways to look at it, as long as you are taking into account each person as like a snowflake or a thumbprint in what their values are and how they live into them. And it's about not harboring judgment against somebody having different values than you, but really accessing the state of grace, which is unconditional love. That's our state of homeostasis, when we are completely balanced, right? When we do see that all sides are equal, and then we just get to choose our highest values, then we can come from our soul, which is our source of unconditional love, rather than our human nature, which is really an animal nature. Our bodies are like animals. They're looking for predator or looking for prey. They're looking for good or bad, right? It's that threat, so that we could survive, let alone thrive in our environments. And so a lot of times we will disconnect from that soul's level of consciousness and awareness, that super consciousness, if you will.
Yeah. I always like to joke around, like, you're part human. This is going to happen. That disconnection.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. Well, the soul and the body they are opposites. Let's put it that way. They're designed to be complementary opposites, but a lot of times they become conflicting opposites because we're not aware of their roles, and we're not really adopting our lifestyle to how those roles are meant to be complementary to one another.
Oh, that's so
right. I mean, like just a basic way of saying that is the soul is infinite. It's made of light, right? Which is why we're all seeking enlightenment. So the soul is energy, and energy is neither created nor destroyed. It just changes form. So it's infinite, right? It goes on and on and on and on and on. Whereas the body is finite. It's not infinite. It's absolutely limited. It has an expiration date. So automatically, there's just one example of the myriad of examples there are about how they're opposites, the soul and the body. And it's about living into how can those two things support and complement each other versus be conflicting, and living only in fear or, an uncertainty of the body, or living only in love and trust at the level of certainty that the soul has. The balance is necessary to survive and to thrive, but also to live our mission and our purpose and to have trust.
Yes. I know we're going to dive into that beautiful how to balance that in a moment. We're going to get deeper into that. Alexis, can you share with us? I know you went deep, and I honor and I thank you for sharing all the things that you've gone through, going on the operating table as many times as you did, the loss of family members when you're 5, all of these things you've gone through, the debt. Could you remember in those times if there was a repeated pattern, like fears, some fears and resistance that you personally faced, like that held your happiness back and held you back. Can you like get specific on what some of those emotions were or thoughts were?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, really, at the end of the day, I believe that if a thread is sticking out of a sweater and you were to call that thread a fear, and you were to pull it and unravel that sweater, like the root of every fear is that I'll be alone, I'll be in pain, I won't have the resources to do anything about it, and it's gonna end for me that way,
Okay.
right? I'm gonna die that way. And for me, that being alone and being in pain looked like I've created a mess that I cannot uncreate. And I am the reason for my own demise because I inherently am not good enough.
Oof, yes, we're feeling you. Oh my goodness. Okay. So yes, that's the root cause. I can see from that being the baseline, these things kind of just tackle on top of it. We keep stacking these different things. You're going to a new trend, trying a new diet, trying a new.
Looking for more evidence that
Yes.
I am not good enough, and then seeking out any possible solution I can, any band-aid I can
Yep.
for having to deal with what that presents.
What did you do? Well, I know there was probably a big process. You could share with us what did you do to break through that barrier of like just not feeling alone anymore, not feeling like you're not good enough anymore? What can you
Mm.
remember what were like the big pivot points for you were?
Yeah, I mean, there obviously were several, and they do stack on one another. And, it's sort of like with each one of those moments, every time that my perception shifted, then I would make a decision based on that new perception to go in a new direction. And then I would take action. And every time that process would happen, when my perception would change, and then I would make a new choice, and then I would engage in a new action, I would strengthen the aspects of me that weren't going to fall victim, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
to the old habits of believing that I wasn't enough. But some of those moments were, I remember I had gone through a really bad breakup, and I was out one night with some friends, and I was going on and on about my breakup and poor me, and, really just playing the violin for myself and expecting everybody to coddle me and support me and give me some answers about how I was going to get through this because I wasn't going to be able to do it on my own.
Mm-hmm.
And I got some tough love from, or what I like to call fierce love, from a dear friend of mine who was definitely, I would say, more spiritually flexed than I was at that time. And she played a hard hand with me, and she told me that I was an ingrate. And she told me that I just loved to play the victim. And she told me that it was time to put my big girl pants on and to do the work to start to change how I was showing up and how I was, creating my reality. And I was sent into a tizzy, and I started calling people and asking people, is this how you experience me? Am I some victim? Am I some person that's just constantly complaining and isn't grateful? And, luckily I had friends that were willing to be honest with me and say, yeah, that is how we experience you.
Wow.
And so I went to another trusted friend who was also more spiritually flexed than I and said, I need help. And she said, start with this book. And she gave me Conversations with God. That was the entry point for me.
Wow. That's so good. Like I remember I remember it hit with that fierce love too. That fierce love stick a couple times. I think we all
Yeah,
have, right? At some point, but you at some point we hear it very differently.
absolutely.
Right? That's when we've reached some alignment with it and readiness of taking action on it. And
Yeah, it's that when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. Absolutely.
yeah. Ooh,
Absolutely. And who knows what form that teacher will come in. For me, it came in the form of a trusted friend. For other people, it comes in the form of a car accident. For other people, it comes in the form of an illness. For other people, it comes in the form of, a business or a financial awakening. I mean, there's all different strategies that we will be taught when we're ready for the lesson. And it's just, are we willing to listen?
Yes. When we're ready, it does appear. I sometimes say it could be an ad, you guys, a book, something you see on television, a scroll, and you're like, oh, like it was always there, but you see it
It's
now.
a shift in perspective. It is
Yeah.
all about our superpowered awareness. Absolutely.
Mm.
We can't do anything about something that we're blind to,
No. Yeah.
which is why I love coaching so much, because I mean, that is the number one way to reveal blind spots, but to do it in a way where you're in the seat of power as the recipient of coaching and not giving your power away to anybody else.
Yeah. Yes. I think coaching and mentorship, therapist, a great friend, whatever it is you're going to, as that person holds you in your power, sees you in your light
Yeah.
and your potential,
That's
it
right.
can see, the observer can see our blind spots. Like it's hard for us to see ourselves, see our own.
Yeah, and not looking at the blind spots as this is where you're broken and need to be fixed, but looking as the blind spots as this is where your power resides and it's time for you to seize it and own it.
Yes, the next cut, the next level,
That's right.
wherever it is. Oh, that's so good. So that was good. I haven't heard that one yet, but someone actually, an expert, said it. So I'm loving that you did. That was beautiful. Can you share with us? I know you've worked with thousands of people now, so many people all over the world. Do you have a juicy testimonial, a client story you could share with us where she was just, or he was in a despair, a place of just down and out, not happy, and where you're able to guide them into their happiness?
Well, I'm actually going to say that some of the most fulfilling things, God, there's so many stories, and there's so many people that I would shout out to in the glorious work that they have done, because I would never take the credit for somebody's transformation.
Yeah.
But the thing that I'm going to just go with my thin slice, that first thing that came up when you asked the question. And what came up for me is really the profundity of the DiMartini method, especially when it comes to grief. So again, anybody that's not familiar with the DiMartini method and Dr. John DiMartini, by God, I beg of you, don't run to research this man. He has so much free content online, and all praise to him. But he's created a method that's really comprehensive, and I believe will win a Nobel Prize, by the way. But there is a segment of the method in which you can address any manifestations of grief. So no matter what stage of grief you're in, whether the grief is brand new, and regardless of the circumstances that created the grief, whether it's tragic and traumatic or, more expected and slightly more gentle, no matter what the manifestations of grief are, and it could be a death, it could be loss of money, loss of anything that you have had put up on a pedestal, something that you have a belief that you were better off with that thing, and now that you don't have it anymore, you're less well off. This method will eradicate any manifestations of grief in 3 hours or less.
Wow.
And it's irreversible, because what it does is it actually equalizes and equilibrates the positive and negative charges in your brain between your conscious and your unconscious, and it synthesizes them into your superconscious. So there's just so many people that I've worked with who have gotten on the phone with me, in hysterics, deeply grieving. Let's say most recently somebody had a best friend commit suicide. And within 3 hours, she had nothing but gratitude for that relationship, felt the presence of that person as profoundly in her life as ever before, and is absolutely free of the belief that grief is necessary.
Right. That I love that you brought this up as well. Everything is divine. This is so good, because there's grief, it's this very selfish thing, and I know how that's going to sound, but the other person that has now graduated or ascended, whatever it is you want to call it, passing over, is not hurting. Right? We know that there is not that associated with pain. It is a bliss. It's eternal happiness, joy, love, whatever, light, as we want to call it there. And we are sitting with the pain. And that is a very selfish way of being, because even ourselves do not want to experience that. Our soul does not want to feel that or carry on that weight and pain. So I love how you're saying 3 hours, and a lot of minds are like, what? A lot of us are taught to, no, let's feel this for years. We have to grieve.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh,
I
wow.
can't tell you how many people I've, like loved ones who are suffering that I've reached out to and said, you don't have to suffer. It's a choice, and it's your choice to make. But I'm letting you know I can help you. And they are so attached to the grieving process. They're conscious to the downsides, unconscious to the upsides of the loss, and they're not willing to reveal what's missing, which our intuition is designed. That's what intuition is. It is our compass to seek out what is missing. And there's a process to help you uncover that, and to really neutralize all of the emotional charges that we hold that are not in alignment between our body and our soul. Our soul doesn't understand grieving. It doesn't understand loss. It's infinitely connected to all that exists. But our human nature is very attached to the grieving process because it serves us to grieve in some respects, but it also costs us. And it's about making an empowered choice about whether or not that's something you want to subordinate to.
Yes, it's such a pivot. It's such a tweak in the mindset. Because as you said, the physical body does get, affection. It gets love. It gets like this melancholy, experience. But is that really serving you? If we're switching gears, it's like you're not missing out, or you don't need to do this to respect the other person. You don't have to do this to prove that you love them dearly, or whatever. Our mind plays these tricks. It's we can still have them even closer and be even connected more to them without the grieving process.
That's right. And
Communicate.
when we live in distress, we live in dis-ease,
Yeah.
right? And, all of the emotions that come with grieving put us in a state of distress,
Yeah.
right? It activates our sympathetic nervous system. And, these are the things that make us age, and these are the things that make us ill, and all of, all of the manifestations that come from that, versus being in eustress, which is, it's grace and it's gratitude and it's enthusiasm and all of those states of being,
Yeah.
where we are, more spaceless, more timeless, like, less disease, less of the aging process. All of that is available to us at kind of like higher frequencies, if you will.
Yeah. And that's what your loved one would want too. So if you think about it, it's even
That's right.
beautiful for you, but also what they would want too, and what you would want. Always have to think, if I was the one graduating on, I wouldn't want my husband or my kids or my family to cry all the time and be hurting. I would want them to live in their joy and peace and feel our connection, even deeper. So,
And again, not to make death good or bad, right?
Yeah.
There's such a, yay, that the evil one has perished. Yay, right? It's good that that person died because they were so horrible. Or, oh my God, it's so awful. That person was a saint, and it's terrible that they're gone. And as unpopular as it may be to say, like, again, these are judgments rather than what's the one thing that we all know is inevitable? We are going to pass. Why are we harboring so much judgment over someone else's journey?
Ooh, that is so good. Replay. This is so good, you guys. Oh my goodness, I love that. Okay, well, we're going to sit and let that marinate for a bit. I feel there was a lot of healing to that, and very helpful for so many of us. Thank you for sharing that one.
Of course, yeah.
What would you tell that person, Alexis, right now that, they're here. This is the Happiness Recipe Show. They're on here because they know they want to be more consistently happy, authentically happy every day of their lives. But they're here because they're looking for that source, that resource to it. So that person right now that's sitting in front of this show and they're in despair, let's say, with everything going on in the world today, we don't have to talk about it, but there's a lot of extra fears and anxieties and like, just, let's just say fear of
Yeah,
control, fear of what's going to
sure.
happen next, fear, and they're just fearful and they're stressed out and life is chaotic, but I want to be fucking happy. But life is so chaotic. Can you speak into that soul right now?
Yes, yes. Well, first, I would say that there's, fear comes from a, a lack of feeling safe and a lack of feeling in control.
Yeah.
And the truth of the matter is that mm, there's only three things that we can control. That's it. It's our perceptions, our decisions, and our actions. And everything else, quite frankly, my dear, is none of our business.
Ooh.
So just get out of the way of the world, because it really has nothing to do with you. Anything beyond the surface of your skin is not yours. What goes on inside, that's you. But everything outside of that, it's futile because you don't have control. And the more you try to control it, the more fearful you'll become and
Mm-hmm.
the more reactive you'll become, rather than being proactive, rather than knowing what are your highest values, not where you've been influenced, not where you've hijacked the values of other people because you had to when you were a child and you didn't have the resources and you didn't have, the empowered ability to choose what served you most. You had to adopt the values of your caretakers and of your village because you were reliant on them for them to help you meet your needs. But
Yeah.
you're not there anymore. If you're an adult, you are resourceful enough, you are powerful enough to listen to the truth of what your values are without subordinating to injecting the values of others, feeling like they need to live in your values or they need to live in yours. You get to discover what your highest values are. And if every day you're taking high priority action and not slipping into low priority distraction for your highest values, then you will undoubtedly live a life that is fulfilling. I'm not going to say happy because happy is one-sided, right? And people have an unhealthy addiction to happiness, I believe. Even though I know this is called the Happiness Summit, I'm equating that with fulfillment. What people are
Yeah.
really driving for is fulfillment. And you will feel full when you're listening to what it is that you are hungry for, not what other people say you should eat. What are you hungry for in your life? Go create and consume that, and you will feel full. And the fear around why you can't have that or how you can't have that will start to subside because you're not reacting to what the world won't give you. You're proactively creating what the world is inevitably always going to provide you with.
Ooh. Yes, preach it,
Yes.
speak it, love it. It is
Yes.
good. That landed. I can feel that. That was so beautiful because that's one the biggest fear is like we can't control the outcomes or how things are going to happen or what their government's doing or what our neighbor's doing. We can't even control our kids. We can't control. We can't, but we want to. We have this like human side of us that does that. And that's what hurts. And that's what's scary because that's what we cannot control. And so when you
And
let
we've
it
been
go,
programmed not to. We've been,
yeah.
it's like when I say we're hijacking other people's values, one of the ways that I always like to illuminate that for people is to say, like, okay, well, how do you know what your name is? So I'll ask you, how do you know what your name is?
Because it was given to me.
Somebody told you. And for the rest of your life, you answer to that name every time it's called. Not because you decided who you were, somebody else told you who you were, and you've just regurgitated it over and over and over again. Which is why some people, as they get older, they change their name to Sunshine Featherstone or something, right? But it's because they're really reclaiming their own identity in what they believe to be their own truth. I'm not saying everybody needs to go out and change their name. I haven't changed mine. I have a lovely relationship with my name. But, it's evidence of how much of what our truth is, we've consumed from other people rather than let it be this intrinsic truth about who we are that belongs only to us and that only we could ever really know, because nobody else has been inside this mind, this heart, this body, and this soul, but this being 24/7, 365. I always say to people, I could study you every day, every second for the rest of my life, and I would never know you the way you do. You're the expert here.
Yes. So beautiful.
And so stop giving your power away.
Yeah.
Stop giving it away.
And be in control with that, and okay that this is all that you have to control, and it's enough, and it's bright, and it's big.
And what makes you happy might not make somebody else happy. You may be swallowing somebody else's happy pill and you're having a reaction to it because it's not what makes you happy.
Yes.
You know, so you might be suffering from some idealism about what happiness is when really that's not true for you. So I would say to somebody, go take a values assessment. Dr. DeMartini has a free one on his site. I think it's the best one out there. Go take it. See what makes you tick. Start building a life around what really makes you feel fulfilled.
I love that, you guys. And it's
Strip
not
away everybody else's agendas. Yeah.
That's what we're landing here, which is so powerful, because I know a lot when I was learning how to give up control, that's a program of mine. It was almost a scary thing. Like, no, if we let go of control, then like everything's going to fall apart, or things are going to go wrong, or, I almost feel like this obligation of wanting to fix everything, no matter where we inherited from, doesn't matter. But if you're at that point, letting go, I promise, the natural laws of you stepping into power with who you are and controlling the only thing that is controllable for you is yourself, you're leading and creating such a more of a beautiful place in front of you for your family, your friends, and everything else.
I think something that people should be aware of too when it comes to this is fear is about the future.
Yeah.
Okay. So you don't look in the past and feel fear. You look in the past and feel guilt. You look in the past and feel regret or shame. It's only when you look in the future and you feel like you're out of control of your destiny or something that may happen that is undesirable. Literally, again, like an animal, like, is there predator or is there prey ahead of me?
Yeah.
That's when we start to feel fear. But the truth is, again, we have no idea what's coming and we have no control over what's coming. So the antidote to the fear of the future or the shame and guilt and regret of the past is to be present. Be present and realize that in this moment, the only thing that you do have control over is what you're going to think and thereby how you're going to feel. So the choices that you'll make, and then the next best action that you can take congruent with your highest values. That's all we can do. That's it. It's that simple.
And
we make it so much more complicated, but it's not.
Yeah.
And feelings are a choice. They're a choice of the thoughts that we choose to think and the actions that we choose to engage in and how we're going to treat ourselves in response to those thoughts and those feelings and those actions, right? I have to admit that the thing people honestly are most afraid of when they have fear about the future is what they'll do to themselves if they get an undesirable result. It's not actually about what other people will do. That's the kind of precursor, but it's really after that thing happens, after that person breaks up with me, after that person fires me, after that person, dies and isn't here anymore. How am I going to endure the things that I say to myself, the things that I do to myself, the pain of the bullying, right? Or of the rinse cycle of regret or whatever, or shame or whatever else is going on in my mind. Like, you idiot, you stupid person. How could you? You should have done this. If you would have done that, it would have been different. You should never have done that. Right. And it's the playing of that pain over and over and over again that we're actually really the most scared of. And the thing is, we get to choose whether or not we do that. But people aren't aware that there's actually choice to be had around how much fear we're harboring of what we'll do to ourselves when we're alone with ourselves after the fact. And it's like, nobody else is in control of that but you.
Yes. Scary, powerful, beautiful all at the same time. It's like you do have that choice. Those
That's
thoughts
right.
are going off in your head, and you are the controller of those thoughts.
Yeah.
It's becoming aware of those, switching those thoughts in those moments, focusing on, I hear you, controlling, like thinking about what I can control, my next thought, my next
Hmm.
decision I make, the next action I take. That's very, it sounds so simple, but it's it. It's it.
And one of the best tools that I found for that is inner child work.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because you get such different reactions when people hear inner child work. Some people are like, "Oh, what's that?" And other people are like, "Ooh," you
Yeah.
know. But I mean, it's been so profound for me. I actually have, it's the only tattoo I have on my body is this
Oh,
tattoo of my inner child's name tattooed on my arm. And it's about treating yourself the way you would a small, innocent, defenseless, resourceless, powerless child who is in pain, who is, heaping restrictions on themselves and expectations on themselves and shame on themselves and all of these things.
yeah.
If you were to have 5 minutes alone with that child after seeing them be ripped to shreds and they're in tears and they're devastated and all hope from that, innocent potential filled being is drained and browbeaten,
Mm.
how would you approach that child? You would say, "Oh, honey, that is not true. And everything is possible for you. And you have nothing to be ashamed of,"
Mhm.
right? Because the truth is, oftentimes, that child is our inner child. And that's who's in the driver's seat of our lives. The programming of our lives happened primarily before we were 8, of our belief systems and all of those things, which I refer to as our mind matrix. But that's all in place by the time we're not even out of school yet, grade school.
Yeah.
And so, that oftentimes is the person who's running our thoughts and running our feelings. And until we invite our healthy adult into and the unconditional loving voice to that fear and to that resourcefulness or resourcelessness and powerlessness, that's very one-sided and unhealthy too. So we've got to reclaim our power.
Yeah, I'm loving that you brought this up. This has been brought up a few times, and I'm 100% on board as a therapist myself. It's all about the 0 to 8, you guys. So right now, you could be suffering the depression, the angst, the fear. How long have you been feeling those feelings? It's usually not the thing right now. These are patterns, these are cycles, these are things that we're manifesting over and over again. But remember when you were in angst as a baby, as a toddler, as a young child. Going back there, and what you're saying, Alexis, is this is a technique, and I would love for you to speak in this technique. But you say if you're feeling the fear right now, you're alone. Say if you're feeling so alone right now, you have that inner child, that little boy, that little girl inside of you that was feeling so alone because mom, dad left, whoever authority figure left your life and you were there crying. Bring him, her back up again. See her, see him crying. Hug her, love her, tell her she can never be alone. That's that inner child healing work right there. And you'll see that, oh my goodness, once that little baby inside of you, that little child is happy and running around again and joyful and filled, your life out here will feel that way too. Now, are you done once? No, you'll keep calling your little inner child up and doing different deep levels of healing work. But that's how I heal the inner child. Is there a way that, or would you speak into that too? Is there any other work that you
I
would?
mean, I think you just did a beautiful description of one of the ways that is really powerful of reclaiming that relationship. Again, awareness being our superpower. We're oftentimes unaware that that's who's in the driver's seat
Wow.
of our lives
Yeah.
and what the needs are in order to balance that narrative, that because we're unaware of it, right? Again, balance being the key here. So if I am a parent, I have 2 young kids. And if I just let my kids rule the roost without my parenting coming in and balancing out what's going on with those kids, if I just let the inmates run the asylum, we're in real trouble.
Yes.
So, I, as the parent, my voice has to come in and balance that narrative. And again, I think it's just about the awareness that oftentimes our inner children are just running amok without any parental supervision, parental unconditional love and support as well.
Yeah.
so that, love can get in the driver's seat versus that inherent, fear that may be present.
Yeah. So that awareness, I love how you're saying that. That is our superpower. Being aware of the cycles and things that have been stealing your joy, stealing like the true essence of who you are. What are some of those patterns? And I invite you to go deep. Go deep to your inner child, and see. Sometimes we can see exactly where it stemmed from, but otherwise we can just go back and love that baby girl or baby boy. Give them what they need. Just tell them everything you wanted to hear right now that you wanted to hear then. And that is such deep healing work.
And it's available in the present too.
Right now,
in this present moment. This is all we really have anyway. So it's right here, right now.
Oh, that's so good. Yeah. Okay, Alexis. Oh, I feel like I could talk to you forever.
I know.
For time here, Alexis, can you tell us, okay, go through your day. Say, at some point you get a little down, out of alignment, something happens and you're feeling just off. Is there
happens
a happy
all the
hack
time.
For you, right?
Happens all the time.
What's your happy hack?
I am a spiritual being having a human experience. So challenges are inevitable.
Yes.
I still judge. I still do all of those things. I just have a lot of tools and resources that when my boat capsizes, I'm able to turn it right around, quicker, faster, and sail for the horizon that I really desire.
Yes. Yes.
What are the ways in which I do that?
Give us one happy hack that's like you love so much. Maybe one that you're using more often than ever right now.
Absolutely. Well, we just talked about inner child, so I'll move away from that one. And I think the one that I love the most is my EBF to BFF. So I will look at an event. I'll just make up an example. So let's say stood up on a blind date, right? So I would give the event a title, like a book title, and I would call it The Stand Up, right? And then I would go to, EBF. So then I would skip the B and go to the F. Well, what's the feeling? So I'm stood up on this date. Well, there's probably a progression of feelings. At first I'm feeling worried, like, where is this person? Yeah. Right. And then I'm starting to feel frustrated, like, no, really, where is this person? And then I graduate to depression, anger, resentment. I feel hopeless. I'm never going to meet anybody, whatever. Right. And then I leave. So then what I have to do is realize that, even though we feel immediately flooded by the feelings, what we don't realize is the split second before we're flooded with the feelings is we have a thought. Okay. A belief, EBF, belief. So that belief is then what creates that feeling. So the belief might be, oh, he's really not going to show up, is he? Now I'm anxious. Right. And then, oh, this isn't showing up. Right. And now I'm frustrated. And then, oh my God, he's not showing up. And now oh God, is it because he saw me and I'm not pretty enough? Is it because I'm always going to be alone? I knew I was always going to be alone. Like, it never works out for me. And you can never trust men and all of these things. And now I'm in the full blown despair of it all. Right. So then I jump down to the BFF, right? Which we're with the same event, the stand up. Okay. So the BFF is, well, what if instead of the beliefs that I had above, right, in my belief world that created all of the catastrophe, what if I invited unconditional love in? What would the soul, source of unconditional love, have to say to those beliefs? You can even use like the voice of the parent to the small child, like somebody saying, oh, I'm always going to be alone. It never works out for me. You can't trust men. Unconditional love would come in and go, well, hold on a second. You are so lovable. Look at how many people in your life love you. Yeah. Like, let me list all the people who love you. Right? That's absolutely not true. You're not going to end up alone. All men aren't liars. Your father isn't a liar. Your brother isn't a liar. Your best friend isn't a liar. That teacher wasn't a liar. Like, hold on. You are so magnificent. And just because this one person decided to not show up for God knows what reason that you're making up a story about has nothing to do with you, my love. right? And so from that belief, we come up with a new feeling. So from that feeling, I feel trust, I feel hopeful, I feel happy or joyful, I feel at
Yeah.
peace, right? I feel love. And from that, I create a new future. So my future is, well, the next time that I decide to go on a date with somebody, I'm going to go in with this mentality that no matter what happens, I'm going to walk away really proud of myself that I showed up for a date, that I'm getting out there. Like no matter what happens, I'm going to enjoy my meal. No matter what happens, when I get home, I am going to take a hot bubble bath and, eat my dessert in the bath if I didn't eat it at the table and, on with the next.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. EBF to BFF. I love that. Like, I hope you guys blue pen replay this one. That is magnificent. I mean, you could actually, I love how you're embodying, like you're incorporating the whole belief system, the thought to feeling, and how we can shift that and use this moment to be a next cut, a next level of who we are. So you're sitting, I like to call it a poopy diaper. We're sitting like in a poopy diaper in a little
Yeah.
grungy state, right? Bringing that imaginative side, speaking with connecting to self. You're facing what this event triggered, the belief that it's connected to, the feeling it was. Okay, so if you have all those, that's the recipe to switching it and to
Invert
create,
it.
yeah, whole new belief
Invert
system,
it.
whole new feeling, whole new future right in that moment.
Well, and it's helping you see the inherent balance that is
Yeah.
always available to you, but you're just not choosing to see it. So it's a tool to help you see the inverted side. I always say fear is love inverted. Fear is, please don't drive over that pothole on the bumpy road to love. I don't want it to slow us down, right? Like fear
Mhm.
is just a tap on the shoulder going, oh, I love you and I don't want you to get hurt. What can we do about this? It's just love. It's just love inverted. And
Yep.
so this is a tool for inverting any moment of, fear, despair, disjointedness around so that you can see the fullness of what's going on. And then it's going to take the sting away.
This really full circles. This goes back to even how we started. I think the picture is just getting more vivid and beautiful, as you're saying, in the dualities, and everything
That's right.
is. There isn't one without the other. And so
That's right.
having this tool of every single scenario, every situation that we're in, there is a sunrise to sunset. There is the clarity and the
Right.
contrast, right? And this is a technique of seeing it right in that moment. Oh, that was so juicy. I love
Yay!
that. Thank you.
Happiness hack.
Yeah, that's a powerful hack. I love it, you guys. Write it down. Okay, Alexis, can you let the audience know what they're getting, what you're actually giving away?
So yay! I
Yay!
am so excited about this webinar. I can't even, I just, it makes me want to have a poopy diaper. Like I'm
Yeah,
just so excited about it. To use your poopy diaper reference.
yeah, I
Um,
love it.
it
Okay,
is,
so
I mean, it is, this webinar is like one of the greatest things ever. And I just feel so grateful that I get to gift it to people because I really think that it serves on a deep level and it delivers a lot in an hour that can create great change and
1 hour
transformation.
webinar, you guys. It'll be here. Click the link below. You can get access, find out all the details of what
Yeah.
exactly this webinar is. Believe me, it's good. It's for your highest good and highest vibration. It'll be there to serve you and all this that we talked about today. One
Yeah.
beautiful.
And I should say the webinar is called See You Later Sabotage, and it's the seven
Oh,
sneakiest ways um, that we get stuck in our lives and what we can do about that.
it's all about getting unstuck, breaking through those
Yeah.
barriers. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's a lovely title. You guys click it, grab it, get into that. Please hook up with Alexis. Has a beautiful social media as well. I love seeing her post. I love seeing everything that she's about. Check out her website, check out her links. It's all below. And thank you, Alexis, for your time and all your beautiful wisdom and happy hacks. We're just amazing. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much for having me. It's been such a pleasure to be here, and my well wishes to everybody who's watching this. Stay safe, stay healthy, and all my fiercest love.
Yes. Thank you all for watching, and may you never be the same. And we'll see you on the next episode.
Bye bye.